What's going on, leaders? It's Carson, and I am so glad that you're watching today. If you've been to the channel before, welcome back. And if you're new, I'm so happy that you're here and that you're watching today. If you like any of the content you see, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and go ahead and give me a follow on the Instagram right there below at carsonholland.co. I would love to interact with you, to communicate with you, and get to know you a little bit better. Now, before we get into today's video, I just have a few questions I would love to ask you. What does love look like to you? What does love look like to your family? What does love feel like? What does it sound like? What does it seem like? What does love do? That is what we're going to be talking about in today's video on one of my favorite books that I've ever read, Love Does by Bob Goff. Now, this book is a little bit different from any of the other books that I've read or I've reviewed on this channel so far, because a lot of the other books are self-development books and they have these concepts, they have keys, they have points that they make inside of them, but this book is actually a little bit different. Now, there is going to be a link in description because I do highly recommend that you read this book, but it's not going to be the same as maybe a self-development book or maybe a self-growth book or maybe a leadership book. It won't be the same, but I assure you, you'll want to get this book and you'll want to give it a read. Now, the way that this book is laid out is it's actually compiled of a whole bunch of little miniature stories. That some of the chapters are only 2 to 3 pages, and so they're really quick reads, really quick chapters, but they're all very filling. And each and every single story is a little story that teach us a little bit more about what love looks like. Now, what Bob does in his book is essentially he takes this idea that love is a feeling, and let me just tell you, love is not a feeling. Love is not how you feel. Love, it is a choice, according to Dr. Gary Chapman in his book, The 5 Love Languages. Again, I highly recommend that as well. In fact, I will leave that in the description as well for you guys to pick up, and we'll do a book review on it soon. But Bob, he takes that idea that love is a feeling and he tears it apart, and he lets us know that love is really not a feeling at all. It's a full choice that you have to make every single day, not just with your family and not just with your friends, but it's a choice that you have to make for everyone around you, that you will love them. And he gives us an idea of what love looks like in our everyday life by sharing these stories. So what does love look like, and what are some of the amazing parts in this book that you should know about? Well, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so since this book doesn't have any direct lessons or any direct ideas or concepts that it wants to get across or any direct layout, I'm simply going to share with you guys what my favorite parts of the book were and why. So what's the very first part? The very first thing that I loved about this book is found in chapter 3, and it's the very heading of the chapter, and it says, "I used to think being loved was the greatest thing to think about. But now I know that love is never satisfied just thinking about it." Don't we often fall into that trap? We think that we can love people because we think about loving them. We think, oh, I will get my mom this. Oh, I'll treat my girlfriend this way. Oh, I'll treat my wife this way. X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be for you. Even just friends and family, we think about it way too much. And then finally, maybe something happens, or the time comes that, you know, they're not around you anymore, they move, they pass on, and you realize that you only ever thought about loving them instead of actually doing something to show that you love them. Love, it is a choice that you show. It's not something that you think about. The other thing that I absolutely loved about this book is actually chapter 4, and there is a specific line that I'll read in a moment, but essentially this entire chapter is about being afraid of loving people. It's thinking that you're gonna fail. You know, you go to love a stranger or something, and a lot of people think that that might be weird, but it's not. You buy a coffee for someone, you buy someone's groceries every now and again, you help someone. I actually had this happen to me the other day. You help someone get something into their car from the grocery store. I had something really heavy in my cart and I couldn't pick it up on my own, and someone passed me and they just said, "Hey, do you want some help?" That is showing love, but very often we can decide that we don't want to do that because, well, we don't want to fail at it. And the thing that I love that Bob wrote at the end of chapter 4 is this: things that go wrong can shape us or scar us. You see, it's really up to you on what you want to happen. Your failure, it can scar you and you can stay behind, or your failure can motivate you and shape you and push you forward, and it can be used as a springboard to help you love people, get further in your life, your business, your ministry, whatever it may be for you. It's up to you. Your failure, it can shape you or it can scar you. The next thing that I really loved in this book was the heading of chapter 22. It says this: I used to be afraid that if I was authentic, I might take a hit. But now I know that being real means that I will take a hit. You know, very often that we can think that if we love someone, it's going to go well every single time because we're loving them. We're caring about them. We're showing them that we have this desire for them to be okay and for them to feel loved in their life. But if you're loving strangers, if you're buying someone a coffee or the groceries, it's not every single time that when you're being authentic that it's going to go well. In fact, I've had times where I've tried to be loving to people in a grocery store. I've tried to be loving to people in a bookstore, and they've actually gotten mad or upset with me because I wanted to buy their books for them, because I wanted to buy their movie ticket for them, because I wanted to help them put their groceries in their car. People have been offended and gotten angry. And something that you need to know, leader, as you are trying to be a more loving person and learn how to love people well, is it's not always going to go the way that you may think it's going to go. But does that mean that you don't do it? No, absolutely not. It actually means that you should step into it all the more, because failure will help you to grow. Remember, it can shape you or it can scar you. So use it to shape you so that you can love people in a better way the next time that you decide to show how your love acts. The last and final part of this book that was actually my favorite part of the book is actually this. Now, before I read this section, I just want to clarify for all of you, I want this community to be one where Christians and non-Christians can gather, religious and non-religious can gather, anyone who simply wants to lead the best life that they can, because remember, this is a community of people that desire to live the very best life that they can live. And so this book is actually a Christian-based book. It is a book about Jesus. But whether you're Christian or whether you're not Christian, I would highly recommend that you read it because it shows you how to love well. But this is probably my favorite part, found on page 125, and it says this: I want to leak from having been hit by Jesus, from having something crazy happen to me, something that flipped my life upside down. I've met people like that, people who leak Jesus. Whenever you're around them, Jesus keeps coming up with the words and with their actions. I don't suppose everybody gets hit by Jesus, but those of us who have talk about him differently. We start steering funny ways and we start to leak where we stand, and it's because we got thrown from our lives in a terrific collision. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that an amazing thing to think about? Whatever it is that you're filled with, in that specific situation, Bob, he was referring to Jesus, but in your case, leader, whatever it is, you can leak what you fill yourself with. In a terrific collision of amazing events that happen, that is what you can leak. So I would encourage you, fill yourself up with love. fill yourself up in whatever way that it is, whether it's through watching other videos on YouTube, whether it's through having a conversation with a friend at a coffee shop, or whether it's reading a book. I don't know what it is for you, but here's what I do know. What your inflow is what your outflow will be. So I would highly encourage you, fill yourself with love and spread that love across the world that you live in. Okay, leaders, I hope that you loved this book review on the book Love Does by Bob Goff, one of my favorite books that I've ever read. Again, I'm gonna leave a link for the Amazon to this in the description, so go ahead and go check it out below. It'll be one of your favorite books that you've ever read. Highly recommend that you pick it up. Again, if you liked any of the content that you've seen, if you're new to the channel in any way, hit the subscribe button. Consider subscribing and become a part of the community. I would love to communicate with you in some way, shape, or fashion. So go ahead and give me a follow on my Instagram at carsonholland.co, and I cannot wait to see you guys later in the week. And I hope that you guys have a very good rest of your day today.